What's up guys, my name's Brandon and today we're going to be doing a battery drain test between the new Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, the S10E, the iPhone XS Max, and the iPhone XR. Now these of course are the latest and greatest phones from both Samsung and Apple, and while performance is important, most would argue that battery life is even more important. So let's see which phone has the best battery life of all. So of course before we begin, let's lay out the battery specs for all devices, starting from left to right. So right here we have the iPhone XR, which has a 2942 milliamp hour battery. Then we have the S10E, which has a 3100 milliamp hour battery. Then we have the iPhone XS Max here, which has a 3174 milliamp hour battery. And then finally, the Galaxy S10 Plus, which has a staggering 4100 milliamp hour battery. So the S10 Plus has by far the biggest battery of any of these devices, but let's see if that translates in real world usage to having longer battery life. All right, so I have a fun little challenge for you guys. So before you even begin this video, before we begin the test, leave a comment right now with your prediction on what phone you think is going to win this battery test. And then after you've watched the video through and seen which one actually won, edit your comment with your reaction, and I think that would be fun to kind of just read everybody's guess, like their prediction first, and then the reaction to what phone actually won in the end. And then of course all devices are going to be starting at 100% battery. You can see we're still waiting on the iPhone XS Max and the S10 Plus here, but once those get to 100%, we are going to begin this test. Now we also have the Wi-Fi on all devices, we have Bluetooth off, we have cellular off, and we don't have a SIM card in any of these devices, and we also have notifications turned off for all social media apps and anything that would really send us notifications throughout the time of this test. And then over here on the far left, we do have the iPhone 7 Plus, which is going to serve as the stopwatch phone so we can keep track of the time. All right, so now that all the batteries are at 100%, we're going to go ahead and begin the test. And we're going to start by watching a 2-hour YouTube video all the way through. And immediately after I start playing that YouTube video, I'm going to unplug the extension cord that all these phones are plugged into, so they're all going to stop charging at the exact same time. All right, so we did finish up first here on the iPhone XS Max. Then it's going to look like the S10, then the S10 Plus, and then the XR. Now, we did get different end times only because there were ads and things like that, different ads for different videos. So we're at 80% now on the iPhone XS Max, and we're just now finishing up, here we go, on the S10. So let's go ahead and check the battery. So we got 83% on the S10. On the S10 Plus, we're sitting at 84%. And then on the XR over here, we're sitting on 73%. Wow, so big difference here, 73% on the iPhone XR. I was definitely expecting the iPhone XR to hold up close to what the S10E is at. All right, so the next part of this test is that we're going to play PUBG on all devices. Now we are on separate accounts on all devices, so we're just gonna go ahead into PUBG on all of them. Let's just load it up first. Then we're gonna go into a game at the same time. I'm just gonna try to go into every type of application so I can give you guys a realistic battery drain test. So I wanna do things like social media, games, watching videos, all that stuff, just to kind of, you know, somewhat replicate and somewhat emulate real life usage. All right, so we just finished up PUBG on all devices, and now we're going to go back to the home screen, and we're going to go into a few social media applications for a little while, because again, I'm trying to emulate, you know, real life usage, what you would do on a daily basis. So you'd probably record videos, which is going to be next. You'll go on social media, play games, watch videos, things like that. So let's go ahead and go into Twitter on all devices. And just an update on the battery percentage, we're at 64% on the XR, 73% on the XS Max, 76 on the S10E, and 80 on the S10 Plus. So the S10 Plus is in the lead right now. Again, that does have the biggest battery of all of them here, so that would make sense. All right, so now we're just gonna mess around on Twitter here for a few and then go into Instagram. We're gonna do the same thing on all devices. So we just did a few minutes of social media browsing, and now we're going to go into our camera and record a 4K video for about 30 minutes on each phone. So you can see here we have the resolution set on both the S10E and the S10 Plus, and we also have it set on the iPhones at 4K at 30 FPS. Let's go ahead into the camera here. Let's just go ahead and begin the recording on all of them, starting from right to left. All right, so we've been recording for about 30 minutes now on all devices. Now you're gonna notice that the timer on the S10 Plus is messed up, and that's because I actually ran into a glitch on the camera. So basically it got paused at 11 minutes for whatever reason. The timer stopped at 11 minutes, but it was still recording, and when I pressed stop, it showed the actual time. So I had to restart it over just because I didn't know if it was recording or not, but it was a glitch there on the S10 Plus. So now let's go ahead and stop the recording on all devices and check our current battery percentage. Let's go back to the home screen on all. So on the iPhone XR, we're at 50%, 59% on the S10E, 63% on the XS Max, and 68% on the S10 Plus. So it's a pretty close battle right now between the XS Max and the S10 Plus, whereas we have the iPhone XR in last place, 8% behind the S10E, which is actually pretty interesting because the XR does generally have good battery. All right, so let's move on to the next test. And for this next test, we're just gonna run the Antutu benchmark. So let's go ahead and find Antutu on all devices. All right, so we just started up the Antutu benchmark test on all devices. I will be back once it finishes up on all of them, and we will check the battery percentages and then move on with the test. All right, so we just finished up the Antutu benchmark test on all devices, and you can see here, we're pretty much at the same spot still. So we have the iPhone XR at 45%, the S10E at 53%, the XS Max at 57%, and the S10 Plus at 64%. All right, so now that we are approaching the halfway point on battery life, we're close to 50% on all devices. Of course, we do have a little bit more there on the S10 Plus and the iPhone XS Max, but we are going to go into YouTube now and play a playlist of videos and see how much longer these phones will last. All right, so we're just a little over 5 hours into this battery test, and you can see here where we stand as far as battery percentage. So we have 15% on the iPhone XR, 36% on the S10e, 28 on the XS Max, and 49 on the S10 Plus. So the S10 Plus is clearly dominating this battery test right now with that massive 4,100 milliamp hour battery, and it's not really a big surprise either, but I think the biggest surprise right now is how terrible the iPhone XR is performing. So I am a little bit underwhelmed with the performance of the XR here, especially when you compare it to the S10e, which has even more battery right now than the XS Max. So yeah, some very interesting results. So we're gonna go back into our game. We're gonna go back into PUBG and then go back on social media and then go back to YouTube. We're gonna kind of run through the cycle again and see if we can get at least the iPhone XR to die relatively soon. All right, so we are just over 5.5 hours in, and you can see here the iPhone XR is below 5%. It's at 4% battery now. We're still gonna keep it in here in PUBG until it dies, but you can see that the iPhone XR is very much underperforming. It's a very underwhelming result for the iPhone XR here, because even the iPhone XS Max and the S10e are outlasting it by a good margin. We still have 27% on the S10e, 19% on the XS Max, and 42% on the S10 Plus. Once again, the S10 Plus just continues its dominance in this battery test. It's gonna be really interesting to see what it finishes with, how much time it finishes with. And down goes the iPhone XR at around 5 hours and 47 minutes. So let's check on the other devices to see where we're at with all the others while we're in the middle of a game here. Just gonna go off. So we're at 23% on the S10e, 39% on the S10 Plus, and 15% on the iPhone XS Max. So what's really interesting is that the iPhone XR actually got about 8 hours of usage when just watching videos. In my last battery drain test, when I did a bunch of iPhones compared against each other, the iPhone XR got 8 hours on-screen usage, but that was only with watching videos. So it seems that running social media applications and playing games and things like that obviously is going to have more strain on the battery. So what I take away from that is that the iPhones are better optimized to watch a lot of video at any given time, but it looks like the Androids, the S10e and the S10 Plus, are much better when it comes to real world usage, like, you know, playing games, opening social media apps, and things like that. And down goes the iPhone XS Max at just over 7 hours of constant usage. And meanwhile, we are at 8% here on the S10E, and we are at 27% on the S10 Plus. So 27% still, while the XR and the iPhone XS Max have already died. That is very impressive, but again, it's to be expected with such a massive 4100 milliamp hour battery. Super good stuff there from Samsung and the Galaxy S10 Plus. And down goes the Galaxy S10E at about 7.5 hours. So last one standing, of course, the winner, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus with that massive 4100 milliamp hour battery, and it's still at 22% battery life remaining. So at this pace, it's going to take forever for this thing to die, but we're going to try to get it there. It's probably going to be at least 8 hours, which is super impressive of all on-screen time and actually doing intensive tasks like games and videos. And then finally, down goes the S10 Plus, just over 8.5 hours of on-screen time. Again, we just played PUBG, went into social media applications, played YouTube, did the Antutu benchmark test, all that fun stuff, and still 8.5 hours of usage. That is really impressive. So yeah, this is a very interesting test to run. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Also leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this. Were you surprised? Were you not surprised? Let me know everything you're thinking down below. And of course, make sure you guys do subscribe so you can see a lot more battery test comparisons when the new phones come out and all that fun stuff. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you soon.